Do you want to speak about Portuguese or should I just begin?
Olá, gente. Então, vamos começar hoje fazer uma conversa muito especial hoje com duas pessoas. Eu, professor Fábio, professora Muna. Olá, professora Muna.
Olá, todo mundo. É um prazer estar aqui na presença do nosso convidado, Ahmad Saadi, um palestino, pesquisador de uma amplitude de temas e questões de nosso interesse. Hoje ele estará abordando, através de uma palestra, uma fala formal, os temas relacionados com a questão da colonialidade, identidade e direitos humanos, que são nossos eixos. Muito bem-vindo, professor Ahmad Saadi. Thank you so much for being available to us, Dr. Ahmad Saadi. Please feel free to start your talk and to introduce yourself briefly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I am really honored to address the audience, which I haven't had the opportunity to address before. My name is Ahmad Saadi, and I am a professor of political sociology. I live in Haifa, Palestine. My family has been in Palestine for at least 500 years, and we are very fortunate to stay in Palestine. And today I am going to speak about the life of the Palestinians in the first 20 years after the creation of the State of Israel. What I shall do in this presentation is to speak about the Palestinian cause from the perspective of colonial studies, and there are two major paradigms. The first paradigm is the paradigm of classical sociology. And according to this paradigm, the differences or the oppression of the indigenous people and of minorities is described according to differences in the level of education or the residential areas or the background of the people. However, the settler colonial and colonial paradigms explain the disadvantage of minorities as a result of state policies, of governmentality, and of design. And here I have to say that in many of the colonial and post-colonial studies, we hear about oppression, about designs, about policies, about governmentality. However, in many of these studies, we know very little, or we are given very little information on these plans and policies. What I am going to do today is to explain the Israeli policies toward the Palestinians who remained after 1948 citizens of Israel. And the first question to begin with is, why did Israel allow these Palestinians to stay inside Israel? Because we know about the Palestinian diaspora, about the refugee question, but there is a Palestinian minority in Israel, and until some 20 years ago, the research did not discuss this Palestinian minority within the colonial paradigm. Well, the first question is, why did they stay? In fact, the design to expel the Palestinians began with the Zionist movement itself. The fathers of Zionism designed the plans to expel the Palestinians, and in fact, in 1920, when the Jewish population in Palestine were less than 10% of the population, they designed the plan how to disorganize Palestinian society by creating mayhem and civil strife among Palestinians. For example, how to stir conflicts between Christians and Muslims, how to bribe local leaders, and so on and so forth. And since the 1930s, Israel began a systematic, the Jewish community had a security branch which began a systematic endeavor to collect data about the Palestinians, which is known the village files. And this data included details about each community and the makeup of the community, the religious groups in each village, access roads, and so on. But more importantly, they collected data about local rivalries between different clans, different groups, and different hamulas or extended families, and how to create mayhem and how to create conflict in the Palestinian local communities. And in fact, since the 1920s, they began storing this information, creating archives, and then they had aerial photos of each of the Palestinian communities. And they created, along with that, all kinds of war plans. And in 1948, Israel used the plan called the Plan Dalit to expel the Palestinians and to occupy Palestine. Plan Dalit means Plan D. And in fact, there was before that Plan A, B, and C. That is to say that the Jewish community began to prepare itself for war since the 1930s with the principal goal to expel the Palestinians. During 1948, they had this opportunity to expel the Palestinians, but a Palestinian community remained in the Galilee, that triangle, and some Bedouin tribes in the Negev. And one of the questions is, why did this Palestinian community remain? The Palestinian community in the Galilee remained because the Galilee was designed to the Palestinian Arab state that the United Nations decided that it should be created in part of Palestine. And the Palestinians remained there after the war, and this created a strong debate among the Jewish political class in Israel. Why did we allow this community to stay? What was the failure that led to the fact that we have so much Arabs who stayed in this country? In the literature, there are all kinds of explanations for this for this fact that there are Palestinians who remained in Israel. But in a meeting of the ruling party, Foreign Minister Moshe Sharet, and in fact he was the person who dealt with the plans of how to govern the Palestinians, he said the following. He said this process, the occupation of Palestine, occurred in several stages, and the circumstances surrounding the Arab exodus or uprooting. This is to say that he was in fact saying that there were acts of uprooting. In the first stage are different from the final ones. Two facts. On the one hand, the Galilee was the last area to be conquered, and on the other, it has the main concentration of Arabs who remained. The coexistence of these two facts is not accidental. Rather, it is a cause and effect. We shouldn't deceive ourselves by assuming that we could have managed this affair differently. When we confronted the strong villages with deep roots that refused to move, we did neither spare military power, nor moral strength, nor diplomatic valor. That is to say that there was an act of expulsion. And this population remained because they were conquered in the Galilee. That was the last area that the Jewish forces occupied of Palestine. And this happened because the strategy of the military army was to reach the international borders of Palestine. And for that, they used a double movement strategy. This is to say that they wanted to reach the international borders, and they did not systematically occupy these villages one after the other. Rather, they reached the international border and leaving many Palestinians inside the territory that Israel came to control. And therefore, these Palestinians remained. The first question was how to create a legal conditions for Israel to make the return of the Palestinian refugees impossible. To do that, they did in November 1948 a census, or they counted the population, and they said the following: we are applying a criteria according to which those who remained inside Israel will be citizens, and those outside the new state will not be counted as citizens. And in this way, they created a legal basis for denying the refugees the right of return. Therefore, they presented this as a kind of bureaucratic measure to count the population, but in fact, it was more of a legal procedure to deny the refugees the right of return. As to the Palestinians who remained, the principal idea was to expel them, and the Israeli leader expected that there will be another round of war with Arab militia or Arab states, and during the war, they will be able to expel the Palestinians. In fact, Moshe Sharett said, we can't expel them without a war. And therefore, they waited for a war, and for 4 years, the Israeli elite or Israeli leaders debated how to govern this population until the next round of war. We can't expel them, but then what to do? What to do and how to manage them until we expel them. And this is called, they call this birur. And in fact, birur, this means clarification. They said we have to clarify to ourselves how to manage this population until we expel them. And for 4 years, Israel refrained from passing some of the basic laws or the fundamental laws that each state passes, such as the citizenship law. Israel did not have a citizenship law until 1952, compulsory education, and so on and so forth. Many laws, if we look at the Israeli book of laws, we see that these laws were enacted after 1952, because until 1952, they did not want to grant citizenship to the Palestinians. It is not acceptable in the by the international law and by the international community to expel citizens. These were citizens of Israel, and therefore Israel can't expel them. And therefore they refrained from passing citizenship laws. And they kept deferring the citizenship law until in 1952, eventually they understood that a war is not going to erupt in the near future, and therefore the state should be institutionalized, laws should be passed, institutions should be created, and so on. And the first policies were outlaid in 1952, and they were as follows. First, to prevent the return of Palestinian refugees and expel those who succeeded in returning. To relocate Palestinians from party-emptied villages and from areas adjacent to the borders. And 3, to establish political control of this minority and to segregate the Palestinians from the Jewish population. That is to create 2 systems. One system is for the Palestinians and one system for the Israeli Jews. And to continue and to implement that, they began to establish Jewish settlements on the sites of destroyed Arab villages. For example, between 1948 and 1953, Israel established 370 new settlements, 350 of which were built on Palestinian lands, on sites of Palestinian villages. And this is in order to prevent Palestinians from return, to say to the international community that they have nowhere to return to. The second thing, Moshe Sharett and others decided in what they called soft transfer. That is to say, not transfer in mass the whole Palestinians, but to transfer them to transfer some of them, some villages, some Bedouin tribes, some townships, and so on. Of these, for example, the residents of Al-Majdal, Ashkelon now. Al-Majd, the people of Al-Majdal remained, some of them remained in their township, and they received Israeli identity card. They voted for the first election. However, in 1950, Ben Gurion came to the area and said, we want to build a Jewish harbor here, a port, a Jewish port, and therefore these people have to be expelled. These people were expelled to mostly to Gaza. Moreover, they expelled the people of Iraq al-Manshiyah. The Egyptian army of Abdel Nasser was stationed there, and according to the agreement which was reached between Israel and Egypt, these people were to stay. However, they were later expelled. Moreover, the refugees, the people who fled from the center of Palestine to the Triangle and remained in the Triangle under the control of the Jordanian army, were expelled because in 1949, as part of the armistice agreements, Jordan conceded the Triangle to Israel. And therefore, Israel expelled all the refugees, all the Palestinians who found refuge in the Triangle. Also, Egypt tried to transfer Gaza to Israel, and Sharet and others said, we can't accept such a big bulk of Arabs in our country, and we don't want Gaza with its citizens. Either Gaza without its citizens, or we will not take Gaza with its citizens. And therefore, they are left with the Palestinians in the Galilee, which they did not expel. The Palestinian population in the Triangle, and a few Bedouin tribes in the Negev. But in fact, the idea of expelling the Palestinians continue to be a kind of informal policy or informal goal of Israeli policies and military leaders. For example, just to give one example, in 1952, there was a big plan to transfer the Christians of the Galilee to Argentina and Brazil. And this plan was, in fact, operational. It got the approval of the Israeli state, but eventually the vigilance of the people in Palestine prevented that from happening. Another plan was in 1964 when Ariel Sharon was the general in the Israeli army, and he thought to wage a war against Syria and during this war to expel 300,000 Palestinians from the Galilee, and he asked about the practicalities, how to do it, and began to calculate the number of buses and the trucks needed to transfer this population. This was in 1964. That is to say that the idea of expelling the Palestinians continued to be a central theme in Israeli political thinking. As I said, in 1952, they decided that the Palestinians will not be able to expel them. There is the soft transfer, but they were reluctant in outlining a comprehensive plan on what to do with these Palestinians. During the war already, Israel imposed a military government to rule the Palestinians. And this military government rested on emergency regulations enacted by the British Mandate. According to these regulations, the Israeli army imposed curfew on Palestinian villages, and no Palestinian was able to leave his village or town without a pass. And they used that to coerce the population to confiscate their lands and so on. And in 1956, there was the massacre of Kufr Qasim, And the massacre of Kufr Qasim is very unique, and I would say it's essential event or foundational event, because Israel thought or the leaders were thought, the military leaders were told that Israel will wage a war on Jordan. And they had a plan in case of war with Jordan to expel the Palestinian population from the triangle. But eventually the war was with Egypt after the nationalization of the Suez Canal by Abdel Nasser. One of the commanders on the front with Jordan did not receive or did not pay attention that there was a change of plans. And he went to the village of Kufr Qasim, and they just massacred villagers who were returning from their fields. And after that, Israel decided to set up a plan, to create a plan for handling the Palestinians. And in this plan participated people from the Histadrut, the labor union, the Histadrut, the security services, Shin Bet, the advisor to the Prime Minister on Arab Affairs, the head of the security of the military government, and so on and so forth. And the first plan was in 1958, and according to this plan, they decided the following principles. First, we can expel the Palestinians during peacetime, but in wartime, we should not spare this option or leave this option theoretical. Secondly, the Arabs will never be full citizens of Israel. And third, during war, and the third, security considerations will be the guiding principle for Israeli policy toward these Palestinians. And according to this plan, they decided the following. First, to establish political control of the Palestinians by creating a group of collaborators. And these collaborators will act locally. And we should use these collaborators not only to pass on information to the Israeli security services about what is going on in their communities, but also to present any contestation of Palestinians against the state policies as a struggle between moderates and radicals. And these were to be termed as the moderate Arabs. Secondly, the segmentation of the Palestinians, and this should take place in two ways. First, to prevent the Palestinians from having a territorial continuity by inserting Jewish edges of settlements of military and police compoundments or installations between Arab villages, and at the collective level, not to call them Palestinians or to treat them as a group, but to divide them into rival communities, Christian, Druze, Bedouins, and so on and so forth. Third, the creation of economic dependency of the Arabs. The Arabs should be dependent on the state for their livelihood, and anybody who benefits, any Palestinian who benefits from the economically from relations with the state should be committed to the state policies, to the state goals, to praising the state in his community, to accept the status quo, not to challenge the state. At the collective level, the Palestinians as a group should stay at the margins of the society, the labor market, and the polity. They will never be integrated as full members of the Israeli society or economy, Along with that, the state and the Histadrut will establish some factories and initiate economic activities in Arab localities only in case these were profitable to the state and the Jewish sector. This means to use the Arab as a cheap labor, and only if they add to the well-being or to the economic gains, to the economic benefits of the Jewish population, of Jewish companies, of state companies. Fourth, to provide the Arab population with local services, at the local level. And this was dubbed as modernization of the Arabs. That is to say, to provide the Arab population with running water, with electricity, with roads, and so on. However, behind this supposedly modernization plan, there was a kind of sinister goal. And in fact, the man who headed the community, this group which outlaid this plan, said the following, and I'm quoting him: "The electrification of Arab villages has an immense value, not only in economic, cultural terms, it has also a significant security value. When you pass the Wadi Ara street, that is the main street in the Triangle area, at night you see the hostile darkness. If we illuminate the darkness, we take them out of the darkness and place them under our supervision. The same is true with regard to streets and transportation." That is to say that the goal of modernization is really political control. The other thing is what they call the democratization of Arab society. That is to create a democratically elected local council instead of sheikhs or chiefs or mukhtar and so on and so forth. And at first, also, it looks like a kind of positive policy. But behind it, again, there was a kind of thinking how to control these Arabs. And a top secret memoranda said the following: "The government policies has sought to divide the Arab population into diverse communities and regions. The municipal status of the Arab villages and the competitive spirit of local elections deepen the divisions inside the villages themselves." That is to say, it's to create conflicts between the rival hamulas or the rival families and so on and so forth. And in fact, this continues what they began, the thinking of the 1930s, of mapping each Arab village and creating conflicts between the various groups in the village. The fifth principle was mystification. And by mystification, the goal was to, or the means of mystification were to create a lot of literature, newspapers, magazines, theater by Iraqi Jews called Ohel, and also special attention was paid to what is called the intelligentsia. Most of the Israeli political class came from Eastern Europe, and they knew the Marxist ideology, and particularly the Leninist ideology, and they paid special attention to the intelligentsia, and they believed that the Palestinians were not able to mobilize themselves or to contest the state policies without a starter of intelligentsia. And therefore, they said special attention should be paid to the intelligentsia. And first of all, we should give the intelligentsia employment. Those who study at schools, universities, and so on, or teachers training colleges and so on, we should give them employment. We should take care of their employment. But also they said we should use them to spread our propaganda in Palestinian communities. They realized early on that the preaching of the state is not working because the Palestinians live in dismal conditions, and therefore they needed Arabs from the same villages to speak to their neighbors, in their communities, about the state policies and how the state is modernizing the Palestinians. Also, they said the following, and one of these sinister plans, that they said that we should direct them to establish musical bands. Why musical? They said the following: to establish a musical bands and entertainment group. This gives expression to the feelings in the cultural field. The Roman slogan of bread and entertainment is not wrong. That is to say, is to provide the population with entertainment, with the music and songs. And in fact, in some Palestinian villages, they sometimes brought movies and showed movies as part of a propaganda campaign and a kind of entertainment for the population. Another strategy was to change the background of the Palestinian intelligentsia, because before 1948, the Palestinian intelligentsia came basically from the towns. It was urban intelligentsia, and the intelligentsia played a central role in the Palestinian national movement. After 1948, the urban population were affected by the state policies, and they said we should create a new intelligentsia, and this intelligentsia should come from rural areas for two reasons. The first reason is that this will be the first generation of educated Palestinians, and their allegiance will be to the state, to the Israeli state. And secondly, they don't have the grievances of the urban intelligentsia, and they lack the legacy of leading the masses. This will be new intelligentsia without this background, without this kind of legacy of leading a nationalist struggle. Also, they said that they will use some of these Palestinians in Israeli embassies in the United Nations or in other countries. They said we can speak about Israel as a democracy, as treating fairly the Palestinian citizens and so on. But if we bring educated Palestinians to explain these policies, this would be more convincing. Therefore, they began as early as the 1950s in employing people in Israeli embassies, consulates, and diplomatic missions all over the world. In 1966, the military government, through which Israel controlled the Palestinians, and the chapter that I sent you is about the military government, how it operated, ended, and Israel occupied. Just a few months after that, Israel occupied the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And then the question that they had to grapple with is how to continue controlling the Palestinians inside Israel after the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. And again, they had a plan. They sat together and they put together a plan at the office of the advisor to the Prime Minister in Arab Affairs. And the Prime Minister office is very important because it is connected with the security services, and the advisor was basically the governor of the Palestinians. There were in Israel two bureaucracies, and even today, there are mostly two bureaucracies. One bureaucracy or state bureaucracy is for the Jews, Arab departments for the Palestinians. The 1968 plan said the following. First, to prevent the establishment of independent Arab political parties and nationwide Arab organizations like trade unions, chamber of commerce, or even football clubs. Second, to prevent the establishment of nationwide Islamic organization or religious or national on national basis, and this allow popular Islamic rituals. Before 1948, there were a lot of Palestinian rituals. Palestinians used to go to visit some sacred places like ziyara, they called ziyara. And in fact, stopped in 1948. They would prevent the Palestinians from meeting other Palestinians, from meeting together and having a kind of collective action. Third, it prevent the establishment of municipal organizations beyond the local level. Some mayors tried to establish kind of umbrella organization for Palestinian local councils, and Israel prevented that. Fourth, prevent the establishment of large Arab economic enterprises, an independent bank, labor union, chambers of commerce, while endeavoring to preserve Arabs' economic dependency on the state and the Jewish sector. Five, to prevent the establishment of social institutions and sport clubs. This was the political aspect. Then they went to another aspect, they called it reward and punishment, awarding preferential treatment and socioeconomic development to certain villages and religious sects, divide and rule again, giving side benefits to collaborator and withholding them from negative elements. Third, cultivating leaders at all levels. That is to create a kind of, by the state, of local leaders. Demography, and again, we have this kind of strange thinking. They said to encourage family planning in the Arab community, to award direct and indirect assistance for those who wish to immigrate. And third, to initiate various measures for the liberation of women, particularly raising their educational standard. That the state should endeavor to improve the status of the Arab women. And a lot has been written on Palestinian women. And the aim of that is the following. We reached a conclusion that an increase in the women's education causes the decline in her fertility. We faced the question, what is preferable? A large population with low education, with low national consciousness, or a small population with more educated and, or a small population more educated and more nationalistic. As education increases, so does patriotism. And the question is to have a small uneducated minority, or to have a large minority with low nationalist consciousness. And I decided it's better to have a small minority. Even the education of women, they thought about it as a means of controlling the Palestinians and causing the decline of their fertility. And okay, and then they say the ethnic group and the Hamula, they should encourage the patriarchal system in the Arab society, or the patriarchal structure in the Arab society, to continue to exist and to prevent the development of the Palestinian society on a class basis or on other basis. They wanted to preserve the patriarchal system, and therefore they did not approach Palestinians directly. They approached them through the head of the family, and in this way, in fact, to cement, to strengthen the authority of these leaders. These policies continued until 1970. And this is, in fact, how Israel controlled the Palestinians. There was a thinking, there was a planning, and I refer to these plans. These plans were implemented through a special legal system, through organizations, particular organizations, and through policies on the ground. What I described here were the plans, but this planning was in fact implemented on the ground. And this could be the subject for other talk or reading or other activity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ahmad. In fact, you gave us an appetizing start for a theme that we can broaden and discuss, definitely guided by the chapter that you forwarded to us. Many thanks. Thank you so much. Extremely rich and informative, and effectively laying the grounds for us to understand that colonialism is a well-thought, planned, and strategized through, as you were telling us, the policies and the legal system and intimidation policies as well, and threatening to the population.
Yes, particularly intimidation. And in fact, I didn't have the time to talk about it.
Yes.
The whole system, which aimed, in fact, to create fear inside the population. It is one of the chapters, in fact, in my book is about that, is how to intimidate the population, and in fact, particularly through schools. And one of the amazing thing about that is that the Prime Minister read in the Knesset parts of or essays from children's copybooks, which were submitted as assignment in the schools, and how they compelled teachers, headmasters to collaborate. And the whole question of collaboration, they said about creation, a start of collaborators. And this is in itself, it's a rich subject. It's well detailed subject.
Okay, and of course, in your talk, we have not went deeply. We did not go deeply in this, but it is very evident to me, at least, that there were mechanisms of confrontation, that the Palestinian population was not passive, and that it did engage in many actions by different forms, or by the mere fact of withstanding and being resilient to these policies in itself was a mechanism of resistance. And then we would like to have another occasion to discuss this further, but I think you gave us many, many rich details, and alongside your chapter, this will be an excellent material for our students. And we hope to get you back on board with us. Unfortunately, the time difference is such that it's 5 hours difference, 6 hours difference, isn't it, now with summertime? And but we are very grateful. We are very thankful for your talk, and we want to keep our contact with you, and hopefully we'll engage you in other sessions and in other encounters. Thank you so much again. Fabio will wrap up, I think, this recorded session.
Sorry, the internet gave me a problem. I found the connection. I didn't understand, Muna.
Eu fiz resumo rápido, destacando o valor e a riqueza dessa fala que ele nos deu. Eu fiz a analogia de ser uma mesa, ou seja, da forma em árabe que a gente fala, em um appetizer, né? basicamente para a compreensão de que o colonialismo foi, no caso de Israel, por medidas muito bem estudadas, muito bem planejadas, quer seja no espaço legal ou então através de políticas públicas e finalmente através de políticas de intimidação. Ao mesmo tempo, na fala dele, que foi muito rica e que, num segundo momento, queríamos entender aquilo que ficou patente de que a população palestina resistia, resiste e continua a essas políticas sistemáticas. E, ao mesmo tempo, o fato de ter enfrentado e confrontado tais políticas é um sinal da sua resiliência. Então, a gente está perante um cenário muito rico que ele nos trouxe e que será, nesse primeiro momento, um material suficiente para a nossa turma se debruçar sobre isso.
Mas, Muna, eu quero fazer uma pergunta.
Sim, por favor.
Ahmed, please. We saw recently in the Trump plan a proposal to transfer the Palestinian population of Israel again. So this very old idea of population transfer remains on the political establishment of the Zionist state. I want you, if you want to talk about this actuality for us, the Palestinian population fears that this can become true, at least.
Well, there have always been plans to transfer the Palestinian population in various ways, and there have always been planning and thoughts. For example, after 1967, Israel was so thrilled that educated Palestinians could go to the Gulf states and work there and hopefully stay there. And therefore, if we see that after 1967, the percentage of Palestinians in relation to Israeli Jews in historical Palestine remained almost the same because there was a migration of Palestinians to the Gulf states. However, and they were happy with that, and they encouraged that, and they allowed people from the universities and institutions in the Gulf states to come to the West Bank, to come to the West Bank universities, and to employ Palestinian graduates, and to encourage other countries to allow Palestinians to go there and to study, and Canada and other countries, for example, and so on and so forth. And they were happy with that. But after the war between Iraq and Kuwait mainly, then the Palestinians stopped going almost to the Gulf states for various reasons. One of the reasons that an educated class emerged in these states, and these states and other Arabs began to go there, and therefore the ratio between Jews and Palestinians began to change. And from time to time, they come up with these ideas. I don't know the planning now, if there are secret planning. What I said in the talk, there were secret plans. And in fact, when I went to the archive on some of these documents, it was written, it was stamped, top secret. I don't know what they are planning now, but if we look at the nation state of the Jewish people law, which was passed in 2018, what the essence of this law is that the Palestinians are not indigenous people. Their status is like migrant workers, and therefore, in the future, they can come to populist and right-wing governments like Trump and in other countries, and to act against migrants, against people who are not indigenous to the land. And in fact, this law institutionalized, or this law put on the league in the book of the laws that these Palestinians are not the indigenous people of the land, and are not part of the nation that the state represents. And this is with the same logic. We saw in 1948 they began with the idea of making a census or registration of the population, but the goal was different. And in fact, sometimes they come up with these legalistic issues as a preface to take a concrete action. I'll give you one example of that. In fact, until 1951, I saw in Israeli official documents, the Galilee was referred to as the administered territories. The administered territories, that is to say that these territories are not part of Israel, but under Israeli control until we settle their final status. The same terminology was used vis-a-vis the West Bank and Gaza until after 1967. They said these are administered territories. We will sit together and discuss their future. But now they are saying they are part of Israel. And therefore, they have kind of logic, and this logic is more operates at different levels: the conceptual level, the legal level, and then the procedural, the actual level.
But if we saw the Trump's plan, it has a explicit paragraph about a proposal of population and territory exchange with Palestinian Authority.
Yes.
The plan quotes explicitly the Galilee region as a possible area of exchange population and area. The Galilee goes to the Palestinian, and the Palestinian give up a lot of colonies in exchange. But we remain thinking about this. This spreads a lot of fear on this community, or no? This wasn't this. There wasn't a national discussion with this.
Yeah. Yes, this was. I think this was some time ago. They thought to establish a kind of autonomous Palestinian regions behind the fence. They were not speaking about the Galilee, because if we look at the geography, Galilee is far away from the West Bank, but they spoke about the triangle, which was given to them in 1949 by the Jordanians to give it back to the West Bank in exchange and establishing a kind of semi-Palestinian state or autonomous Palestinian identity in exchange to the settlements. But now they stopped talking about that, and they have no reason. They think now that there is no reason to speak about a Palestinian state, that the goal is to establish a Jewish state on the whole of Palestine. And in fact, this began in 1947. Ben-Gurion was asked, why did you agree to the partition of Palestine? Why did you agree to the principle that a Jewish state will be only on part of Palestine and not the whole of Palestine? And he said, our generation could achieve this, and we shall leave the next step for the next generations. That is, they have a plan built of stages. They have these final goals, and they are working systematically in various ways to achieve this final goal. And the question is that we should ask ourselves is, what is the Palestinian planning against this? When I presented, for example, some of my findings, one Palestinian asked me, should we stand against the education of women? They said, educated women have less children. We don't want a big Arab community. What should we do? Should we oppose the education of women? I said, no, this is not the question. The question is to put together a vision, to put together a kind of plan, of master plan, and we should have objectives and to try to achieve these objectives. And within this kind of a framework, everybody can do his bit to achieve this goal. We have a final goal, and everybody try to do his bit to reach it, according to his understanding and so on.
About this, it's incredible to hear this because you connected with another question. Today, we have on the fact today is that we have one state on the whole story of Palestine. And the demographic situation is mixed and geographical is mixed.
Yes.
On West Bank, it's impossible to separate the population again without ethnic cleansing. But this, I think this isn't in the plans. So the possible plan is to extend civil and political rights to everybody and make change the nature of Israel state to a democratic state, not a Jewish state. This alternative, this way, is discussed by the Palestinians with citizens. The political parties that represent the Palestinian community of Israel have this proposal on the site or no? This wasn't discussed.
Yes, you asked many questions in one, and should let me try to answer the different components of the question. About the reality, in fact, the nation state exactly came to answer this question. We have a mixed population. In fact, there are more Palestinians than Jews in historical Palestine now. Therefore, the majority of the population in historical Palestine are Arabs rather than Jews. But they have the idea that they can continue with this reality by establishing Bentustans and ever-shrinking areas controlled by Palestinians or in which Palestinians live, and to bring some collaborators like Dahlan and others, and to put them as leaders on this kind of separate Bentustans. This is the Israeli plan, and to say that these are not, how to say, these are not the original citizens of the country. They are not citizens. We are tolerating them as foreigners in our land because we have the nation-state law. And therefore, this is the Israeli ideas or plannings as I think of it. Like in Gaza. Gaza is basically controlled by Israel. But then to squeeze them, to keep squeezing them, and to encourage them to leave, to use various biopolitical strategies to decrease the number of the Palestinians, to demoralize them, and so on. And that's really the idea. At the same time, the Palestinian political class in the West Bank, principally, is still talking about the Oslo Agreement, a Palestinian state, and so on and so forth. And we know that this is almost impossible. But they continue to hold into this option. I don't know why. What the Palestinians in Israel and political parties in Israel are doing is, in fact, these parties there are different parties. These parties, the main two groups, I would say, these are the communists and the Islamists. The Islamists are ready to go with Netanyahu, and now they are going so on, and they are interested in daily life of Palestinians in Israel, a kind of co-option. to give small budgets or to do this or that and so on. The Communist Party historically was for two-state solution, and even that the two-state solution is not possible anymore. They continue to promote this idea. And I would say that also the PLO, the idea that the problem is that the PLO, since 1974, decided to accept the option of two-state solution and not one state. But now, as you said, true, we are in a one-state reality.
But this idea of one democratic state is dead, or the Palestinian, or there are sections of the Palestinian population of Israel that still discuss this idea? Because I'll talk about this based on the last writings of Edward Said, when he looks to South Africa model and said, this is the way, not Oslo, but this way. Because if we saw the basic law of recently approved, this puts Israel on a different situation of explicit apartheid.
Yes.
Until then, it was implicit apartheid. But this Bantustan solution will not work. So, based on Said thought,
yes.
There is no way. Look,
yes.
One state. But the people are discussing this or no? There are just the communist solution of two states and Islamist co-option.
I really don't know. I think there is other things. We shouldn't think that history is determined and there is deterministic kind of approach and so on. The Israelis are aware of the demographics, and in fact, there is a Council for Democracy in Israel to encourage Jewish women now to have more children and so on. They are grappling with these issues. And I don't think that is the Israelis are going to accept a democratic state or to extend political and civil rights to the Palestinians. For the foreseeable future, they are saying apartheid system. And in Israel, the average Israeli person does not feel that, it's not part of his consciousness, it's not part of his, of the issues that he think about. They are behind the wall. And there are the settlers, there is the army, there is the Palestinian local authority, and so on and so forth. And they don't think about it, but I am sure that the political class is debating this in Israel. The problem with the Palestinians is that they kind of hold to the idea of two-state solution, and they are powerless, even if they say we want political rights. What does it mean? Does it mean the dismantling of the Palestinian local authority? Then the Israeli army will go and control the Palestinians, and they have different scenarios, in fact, for each of the situation. And they are the powerful side, and behind Israel stand the United States and Europe, all what is called the international community or the liberal world order and the enlightened nations and so on and so forth. They are behind Israel, and they give legitimacy to Israel. And just to give one question now, that Israel is losing in the international public opinion, particularly in universities and so on. And what they did, the political elites, is to try to prevent any challenge to Israeli hegemony by laws. For example, in British universities, if you criticize Israel, you are anti-Semite. The same in the United States, and they have these sites also in many countries, and you can't criticize Israel. And therefore, you leave it to Israel to implement its policies, These policies are problematic. And now the Arab states are cooperating with Israel against the Palestinians. Not only supporting the Palestinians, but in fact working against the Palestinians. And the situation is not easy at all at this stage, but history is an open field, and we should not be pessimistic.
And the political party as Hadash, there is mixed parties.
No, this is the only mixed. No, there are the Zionist parties which co-opt some Arab representatives, so-called, and these are just to grab votes, to get votes from the Arabs. The Communist Party, it is supposedly Jewish Arab parties, but in fact, the Jewish members of the party have always been very few people, and some of these people were committed Zionists. We should remember that Israel was able, in fact, to expel the Palestinians and to defeat the Arab armies because communists went to the communist countries and brought the weapons. And some of the Knesset members of the Communist Party are sons or daughters of these people who brought the weapons, and they have deep commitment to the Zionist idea. In fact, I spoke with one of them, and she said that the university where I work, that she is so sorry that she became a Knesset member because Arabs voted for her. She wanted Jews to vote for her, and so on. And in order to support the peripheral Jewish communities, mainly of Arab origin, and so on. But there is no real mass movement of Jewish Arab cooperation, to put it this way. There are a few Jews who are ready here and there to think of alternatives, but this is within the interest of Israel as a Jewish and as a Zionist state. And I would say, if there is something that really should be said, is the deep commitment of people who have political awareness, regardless of their political affiliation, to the Zionist idea and to the Jewish state. This could be communist, this could be settlers, this could be religious, but all of them have deep commitment, and we should be aware of that.
Because on the edge, the two-state solution is better than one democratic state solution. This is the red line.
Yes.
So how do you see, Ahmed, the possibility on the horizon of a constitution of a mass movement on the left, of course, proposing the one-state democratic solution?
Yes, for such a mass movement to emerge, there should be objective conditions. There should be conditions for that, and these conditions are not there. There should be an international pressure, economic crisis, and so on and so forth, and part of segments of the political class to champion this idea. And this does not exist. The standard of living of Israel is quite high. Israel is exporting surveillance technologies to all the world. They experiment this on the Palestinians, and they export this to all over the world. People are rich and happy. And why should they, what's the reason? Why should they concede some of their benefits to others? Why should they compromise? There is no reason for Israelis to compromise at this stage. And there is, I don't see any possibility of emerging some mass movement. People do not act according to principles of justice. In fact, in Israel, the most sought after houses are houses of the Palestinian refugees, and they call them authentic houses. And they pay a lot of money to live with them, and they feel happy with them. And sometimes Palestinians come to visit, and most of them just expel them or not ready to talk to them, and so on. And therefore, it's, the question is not moral. I don't think people have moral considerations in Israel for a political solution. The whole thing is immoral from the very beginning. The idea of to come and to take somebody's land and home and to control him or her, as I described, and to expel and to scheme and to contrive such plans. I think these can't be with some moral considerations.
No, because it's easy.
In the book I wrote, I discussed this moral issue and how they approach this moral issue. And one Israeli man said, Israeli leader said, if we speak about morals, what does it mean to speak about morals? To give them back their houses, to allow the refugees to come back. And therefore, I don't think moralistic explanations or motives going to play a role in this. It's politics, it's power, it's the support of the West is the survivability of the Palestinians and their ability to push back Israeli plans. These are the factors, I'm afraid.
But Ahmad, it's very naive to expect the colonizer do this, because it's very easy to be a colonizer.
Yes.
On the side, hegemonic side. This kind of solution just came to be if the colonized people make this kind of reification. Other way, no.
Yes, true, but I don't think a kind of rainbow coalition will be established soon. But
okay.
I think the survivability of the Palestinians, their ability to push back, their ability, the cohesion of Palestinian society, and these are the factors which, in the long run, hopefully will have the effect of changing the situation. And therefore, the support and the solidarity with the Palestinian people and all over the world and so on, it's very important. And to keep explaining the Palestinian issue and to try to do to strengthen the Palestinian communities. I'm sorry.
Can I give a good news on this note? Ahmad, I think I mentioned this to you, but in my university, the University of Brasilia, we managed to pass a motion by the Association of the Professors, prohibiting basically not accepting any collaboration with the State of Israel, apartheid Israel, in terms of a proposal that came through the visit of the ambassador of Israel, and his proposal that we collaborate, the university collaborates with Israeli companies in the technology park of the University of Brasilia. We mobilized and we managed to pass a motion. This is one university, but we are very, we are confident that this will apply to other universities as an example that they can also push back. To use your expression, I really like that. You know, how capable are you to push back? And that solidarity is something extremely central at this point in time, when all the balances tip unfavorably for the Palestinian population. Really, the movement should be towards international solidarity. So I wanted to share this news, very recent news that we have. And the student union as well was favorable to our motion, so we're very happy about that.
Yeah, but I saw the various American Studies Association tried to do that. The American Studies Association did that, and others tried to do that. And they are using new techniques, new ways, particularly by trying to work with the elites in the West, in the world, the kind of the neoliberal elite in the world. And in fact, I just published one of my articles was just accepted for publication in Race and the Class about the relation between Israeli technologies of surveillance and the neoliberal elites. And there is kind of common interest between Israel as a security model and these neoliberal elites in the world. And they are using them to through money, through legal, through passing laws in different countries to prohibit the struggle of the Palestinians. And yes, I think this kind of support the Palestinians need. In fact, the Israeli ambassador in Britain said many years ago, now in the top floor, we are okay. But the problem is that the cellar is leaking. This means that the population at large, or the people at large, aware of the Israeli, what the Israelis are doing. And in fact, Hollande, the president of France, said how to deal with the Palestinian issue. And he spoke explicitly about the strategy, and it seems that this is a global strategy. And he said the following, that the anti-Western attitude and anti-Israeli attitude among the Arab people stems from different sources. One of the sources is the Israeli-Arab conflict, and we are instructing the major news outlets not to report on the Palestinian issue, not to bring these graphic images of soldiers beating kids and so on. The second thing is to promote peace between Israel and other Arab countries. And the third thing is to try to decrease the emotional feelings toward the colonial past. We should somehow reopen archives and so on, and undertake various activities to decrease the emotions toward the colonial past in the Arab world. And this way, in fact, not to solve, but to manage the relations for the foreseeable future.
Like was done clearly between France and the legacy of colonialism in Algeria, and it was toned down, very, very toned down, in such a way that the report was totally, it just covered up on so many of the crimes and the issues that happened at the time, and they refused any kind of other language. And the person who wrote the report is an Algerian Jewish French citizen. So the composition of that as well was targeted. But it's very interesting that you bring on this to tone down the feeling and the legacy of colonialism. And we're talking about colonialism very, very recent. I mean, in the case of Algeria in the 60s, the beginning of the 60s. So it's not that far away.
The independence of Algeria, yes.
Yes.
But also they understand that Israel is part of this legacy, and in fact, to change the popular attitude toward the West and Israel, and to normalize relations.
So, if to make some concluding observations, thank you very much, Ahmad and Muna. It was incredible to be here with you. And so we have a lot of work after this to translate.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think so. Yeah, translation is not easy.
We have excellent team, a team of volunteer students as well, but we will be supporting them. And if we need anything, we'll come back to you. But I have a strong feeling that we want you here in Portuguese translated. Your work is just absolutely necessary, extremely important, with all the details and all the thoroughness and care that you have given to our talk today. So,
well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are all in the same boat.
Indeed, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.